Are you looking for a way to write music, but you're like me, and if someone said play a G chord, you'd be like, searching the internet? Yeah. Truth be told, I am like that. I don't know music. I'm not very good at theory. I try, and over the years I've been trying to get better. And then I discovered an app called Suggester. And Suggester is an app for iOS, Android, and macOS that really, really helps me create music. And it's chords that work together. And I've used a few of these, Captain Chords. There's some other melody creation tools that I've used to kind of help me when I'm stuck and to kind of help me move on and write songs that are theoretically correct. So I just want to give you an overview, and we'll put it to use as well, on how I use Suggester. And yeah, let's just dive into it. So Suggester is an app for writing songs or composing music. We can take a look at their website real quick. I'll provide this link to everyone. As I said, it does work on iOS, it works on Mac, and it works on Android devices. I believe it's just one developer, so I don't know this person, but this is awesome, and thank you very much for your contribution. Or contributions, there's other software that they have as well. But let me dive into why I use this and why I would use it, or maybe perhaps why you would like to use it. It's a great tool for people like me, as I already suggested. It helps non-musicians, again, me, and people who like to write songs, write more effective melodies, chords, verses, hooks, choruses, etc. And it also helps train musicians who are stuck with writing songs. And songwriting is just a bunch of, and recording is just a bunch of decisions. And if you make the wrong decision, it could severely take you. It could take your track from great to terrible real quick, or vice versa. It could really help you go from no ideas to some creative inspiration, which leads to something that writes itself. And so I think it really helps everyone with particularly writer's block. And the other beautiful thing is you can get really creative with it. It works on any software plugin that deals with MIDI. And so that is any virtual instrument. Does Suggester work with my DAW? Yes, it does work with it works as a standalone app in all DAWs. So anything that handles MIDI, you can drag and drop these MIDI clips in your arrangements into your DAW of choice, as long as it handles MIDI, which most modern DAWs today do. So, and then with Ableton Live, it integrates directly and syncs within Ableton Live. I'm assuming it syncs tempo, it syncs the key if you switch the key of the entire project, and I imagine multiple other things. So that's really incredible. I haven't given it a shot. I am not a pro in Ableton Live, and in this example, we'll just use Logic. We could open Pro Tools, but I'd rather just stick with one DAW for this one. And so with all of that said, let's just fire it up. I'll create a new project from scratch. I just blank project in Logic and a blank project in Suggester. And I'll show you my workflow, and we'll start with drums. And then we'll move on to synths, piano, bass, and some arpeggiated stuff. So I think this is going to be great. And we'll discuss at the end some thoughts. Okay, so let's fire up Logic. We'll just type in Logic. And while it's getting loaded, I'll also bring in Suggester. And for this one, we'll just say, well, hold on. I'll put that to the side. We'll get Logic going here first. So we'll start a new project. Let's just take Logic's drummer. And instead of actually having the default MIDI, we'll delete it. And we'll pick any key or any scale. So we'll just, you can go through and audition these scales. I'm just going to go with C major, and we'll just choose. And so what that does, I'll make this bigger for everyone. What this does here is it lays out all of the triads, the sevenths, the secondary dominants, the secondary leading tones, tritones, substitutions, etc., 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 all of the possible variations of the C major scale. And that's great because typically what I would do is, okay, I'm in C major. I'd probably go Google like what chords are in, what notes really are in the C major scale, and then reference back to my DAW and try to perform that. What I find beautiful about this is it is my songwriter. I became just the conduit to get the songwriter's ideas now into my DAW. I'm not the songwriter anymore. This is. In some cases, actually, I haven't released any music under using any of this, but it has been great. So we can just go ahead and click on one of these. You may be hearing some drums in the background. That's great, because we have the drums selected back here in Logic. So the audio or the MIDI information is being routed to my virtual instrument, and it's listening in Logic on this drum track. Now, my workflow is usually this. I bring this down halfway and I bring Logic halfway up. And then I close out these windows. And this way I can just go ahead and drag some chords right in. And I imagine this isn't going to sound great, but it will give you some inspiration. So I'll go ahead and hit play. It's a little slow because the chords are so long. So let's change that. You can actually change the output length. You go into preferences. We want to do note durations. The default is a whole note. The preview, so when you're listening, is a whole note. But the export, the default, we can say something like 16th note. And we can change these to match. And we'll close that out. So now when we hit it, it's just a 16th note. So now if we were to do the same thing, bring that back down, and we will drag this one in. You can see now it's only a 16th note. I don't know how it can only give a 16th note. I'm not sure if that happens, but I usually just trim things off. But here's what we have. Let's just loop that. Okay, that's cool, right? It gave us something. We didn't have to perform. We didn't have to hit a key on our keyboard or anything like that. It just worked. Okay, so that's drums. Now you kind of get the idea. Before we get into the other instruments, I want to show you another thing about what I typically do in Suggesture. Is there are a few instruments. There's the default is piano, and there's an electric piano, the vintage electric piano. There's an organ, there are strings, and there's a guitar. And then the audio device comes out of my Fireface UFX. And you can select other devices. So I'm going to just leave it as the system default. But one thing I'm going to do is I turn down the volume all the way here. There's a volume slider. I'm going to turn that down all the way so it just gives me the instrument that I have selected inside of Logic. Now, that's great. You could also just use this as a standalone sequencer, I guess. And I can just drag them over here. And then now at the bottom, if I go and hit play, or I could loop it. Before I get into that, let me just adjust some volumes here so you guys hear that a little bit better. I see it's a little low on my my output here. So it's a brand new project, so let's just go ahead and add some kind of gain here just so you can kind of get some references. We'll go with this guy, and I'll just take a look here. Cool. So that's the drums with Suggestor. And yeah, I apologize. That may be a little loud, but it looks like we're sitting around like where, minus 14. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do is, I believe we said we are going to try this on synths, which is usually my first instrument. It's either drums or that, but typically with drums, I don't really use Suggestor, to be fully honest here. But I know you can, and why not? If you're looking for something creative, sure. Let's just pull open another freebie from Logic. We'll use Alchemy, and we'll grab like some kind of synth. And in that synth, we will add Suggestor. So because it's selected now, it's highlighted, right? If I click on our play button down here at the left, it should play the sequence. It might be pretty loud. Let me just turn that down. Yeah, that's what I thought. But let's not do it that way. Let's do it from the plugin. We'll bring this volume down like considerably. That first patch is always loud. So that's crazy, right? Instantly you have something. Maybe it's a bit of it's some inspiration for you to continue. So that's when I typically use this program, Suggestors, when I'm stuck, when I'm blocked, when I have no creative motivation or inspiration to work with. So, but this is incredible. Let's find a synth, and we'll just pick I don't know, this 80s pop lead. Actually, maybe more of like a pad. Let's do the 70s space pad. We'll hit play, and we'll just kind of move around maybe some of the performance side of things. So we'll hit play. Cool. So let's just say we're happy with that performance and we want to take this entire thing, export audio file, export, right. I should be able to just drag that here. And there's our, what's happening here in our song view. So there it is. And I can do the same because we use the same for the drums. Let's just go ahead and do that too. We'll just we'll take that. Let's just hear that for a second. We'll loop that. Cool. All right, so let's move on. And we're getting the idea here, right? So this is kind of how I use it. I put this at the bottom and I bring it up. And that's pretty much it. There's tons of chords here to pick from. You just tap on them. If you click the plus button, they go over to the song. You can delete it. Okay, so we'll add another piano sound, I guess. We'll just go for something stock. We'll say, I don't know, this electric piano, vintage electric piano, and then we'll, we set on bass. So we'll pick like a bass here. We'll say a sampler, we'll do mono. And then we will pick a bass. And we'll say electric bass. We'll say the session bass. And what I'm going to do is just drag this down again. Now, we could get even crazier because we could add other chords that fit the bass line. For instance, down at the bottom, there's single notes. Right? And that could be great for like bass lines and stuff. So let's just hear what we have here. It's probably going to be a little loud because I haven't brought anything down here. Yeah, let's just fix that quick. Let's bring that thing down quite a bit. And this piano here, I'm not really digging. So let's make it a deluxe modern. Okay. Let's bring that volume down a little bit. Let's do it from here. Bring the volume down quite a bit. And we'll get rid of some of that bass. Yeah, so I'm not really liking that. So one thing I would do typically is let me just close, let me minimize that for a second and make this one a little bit bigger. One thing I would typically do is in the MIDI here on a bass line, I'd probably just remove the upper octaves. Right, so it sounds more like this. Cool. And what else can we do here? Let's just make it slower. I feel like it's going way too fast here. So let's just bring that down to like something really slow. So that's it. I mean, there's really not much else to say. We could go a lot deeper. There's great tutorials online about Suggester. I just wanted to give you kind of a workflow and how I use it. That's typically it. I put it at the bottom, I drag in the stuff, I set my key, and I kind of just work from there. And I work in sections, right? I'll do like an 8-bar loop of something, and then, oh, that's cool. Now how do I transition from that to something else? Even when you're switching keys and chords, I mean, this thing works great. You just line it up and you go pick your scale and boom, you're in the right, you're theoretically correct in music. So I love it. I hope that was helpful. If you have any tips or thoughts or questions about it, reach out to me. I'm still learning it. I've been using it for probably 6 months or so, maybe longer. It's not my go-to. It's not like always I do it, but like I said, when I feel like I need creative inspiration, I go for it like that. So, hey, thanks so much for watching. I'm Eric, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.